It was 10:31 when my phone buzzed. Emergency alert: do not enter underground structures, such as basements. Stay above ground until the all clear. My husband looked up from his phone and stared at me. Did you just get a, yeah? That's creepy, I said, glancing at the stairs. Our kid had fallen asleep for the night about an hour ago. What? What do you think's going on? I don't know, he replied. Could it be like a gas leak? Radon or something? We'd had a radon pump in our basement since we moved here. Maybe there was some weird influx of it, or something? I ran up the stairs to check on our 5-year-old daughter as Luke flicked on the TV. Grace was sleeping peacefully, her blanket wrapped around her. I made sure she was breathing, comfortable, totally fine before heading back downstairs. When I did, Luke was glued to the TV, which said the same thing. Black screen, pixelated white letters, blocky colors jittering along the top and bottom of the screen. Emergency alert: do not enter underground structures. Maybe we should get out of here, I said. But it's late. And Grace has school tomorrow. Yeah, so? We'll miss school. We can go to my mom's. Luke crossed his arms and stared at the TV. He then flicked to CNN and other news channels, but whatever was happening here must have been local, because it was just the same political drivel re-airing from earlier in the day. There was not a blip of the emergency alert anywhere except the local news channel. I pulled out my phone and did some Google searches. Nothing came up. So I shot off a text to Lacey, the mom of one of Grace's friends, who lived in the next development over. We'd only lived here since the school year started, so it's not like I had a whole network of people to ask. She didn't respond. I think we should go, I said, grabbing a duffel bag out of the closet. What about work? Don't you work remotely on Mondays anyway? Yeah, but... I walked over to our basement door. The chain was latched. I hurried into the kitchen, opened the drawer, and pulled out some postal tape. What are you doing? If it's radon or something, I don't want that stuff all in our house, I said, crouching along the bottom and taping the crack under the door. I think they'd evacuate us, if that were the case. I looked up at him as I yanked another long piece of tape off the roll. Okay, so what do you think it is? He shrugged. When I'd taped all the cracks, I brought the duffel bag upstairs. Filled it with a few random outfits for me and Grace, along with my laptop and a few of her favorite dolls. Then I grabbed the cooler and loaded our leftover pasta and yogurts into it. Within 10 minutes, I was ready to go out the door. I'll pack up the car. Can you grab Grace? I asked. Luke went upstairs. I walked down the driveway, weighed down with bags. It was a chilly, clear night. Stars twinkled high above me. The street was exceedingly quiet, the tall, scraggly pines of the surrounding pine barrens stretching up to the sky. I heard the echo of a dog barking somewhere. If everyone got the alert, wouldn't there be more people deciding to leave? I glanced at the house across the street. It was completely dark, except for the light above the garage that flicked on when I came out of the house. I opened the back hatch and threw our stuff in. Luke came out after, carrying Grace, wrapped in blankets. She blinked sleepily. I strapped her in, Luke grabbed some stuff, and then we were pulling out of the driveway, on the road to my mom's house an hour away. She fell back asleep, I told Luke, watching her face flick into view with the light of the passing street lamps. Good. My phone buzzed. I reached for it. Emergency alert: your phone's GPS indicates you are leaving city limits. We do not recommend evacuating. Please return home and stay above ground. What the fuck? I whispered. What? Luke asked. There's another alert. It's saying it. It knows we're leaving. It's tracking our GPS. And it's telling us to stay. Luke glanced at my phone. Seriously? Yeah. There. That data's supposed to be private, he said. Isn't it? I would think so. Unless, I dunno, maybe there are some emergency protocols that allow the FBI to access it or something. We fell into uncomfortable silence. Luke clicked on the turn signal, switched lanes. You don't want me to turn around, right? He asked quietly. I glanced down at my phone. No. I don't. The highway was empty. Not a single car in sight. That made me uneasy. Surely other people would be evacuating. Unless they were all actually obeying the second message? But who even trusts the government these days? I did another Google search. No results popped up. I refreshed over and over again. Wouldn't something be on the internet by now? We were 5 miles out of town now. I should be relieved. But I wasn't. I leaned against the window. The cold glass pressed against my forehead. The pine trees flashed by, skinny and tilted, then gave way to a charred barren patch of forest. Both sides of the highway were burned to the ground. I'd read somewhere that some pine cones only opened in extreme temperatures, like from a wildfire. Fires and regrowth were part of the cycle here, part of the ecosystem, in flux between death and rebirth like a phoenix. My phone buzzed. My heart dropped, but it wasn't an alert. It was a text from Lacey. Only 2 words. What alert? My fingers raced across the screen. Didn't you get an emergency alert? Saying to stay above ground? No. Lacey didn't get an alert, I said. Luke paused. What? What if? What if the alerts were only sent to our phones? I asked, my voice shaking. I glanced back at Grace. Still peacefully asleep, head lolling softly with each bump of the car. Luke shook his head. That's crazy. No one can send messages like that. Just the government or whatever. What if it's a trap? My voice shook harder. What if the only safe place was our basement? That's just your OCD talking, he said softly, empathetically. We're doing the right thing. There's something weird in town, like a gas leak, and we got out. That's obviously the safest thing to do. I stared out at the charred pines. There were a few that hadn't burned up, standing tall and stilted in the darkness. I stared out at them, wondering why they were spared. One of them moved. What the? The car screeched to a stop. My body lurched forward. The seatbelt locked, keeping my head from hitting the dash. Sorry. That deer just started. His voice died in his throat. We both stared at the lower legs of something illuminated in the headlights. Thin and spindly, but definitely not a deer's. They ended in twisted toes, not hooves, and extended several feet up into the darkness. Silhouetted against the starry sky, beyond the reach of our headlights, I could see something. Something tall and spindly, skeletal, crisscrossing lines of bones or sticks or something else entirely. As I stared at it, as it stared at me, a wave of dizziness swashed through me. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Weight pressed down on my head, an immense pressure, bearing down on me, thwack. Something hit the side of the car with incredible force. The entire car rocked on its wheels. I screamed. Thwack. A mess of lines, bones, sticks outside my window, empty air between them, the stars and the pines rippling strangely behind it. Luke stomped down on the accelerator. The car shot forward. We swerved around the thing, then past the burnt section of forest and continued down the dark, twisting highway. My phone buzzed. Emergency alert, all clear. Please return home immediately. Part 2 https://www.reddit.com/r/no sleep/comments/1jx7uaa8/emergency_alert_do_not_enter_your_basement_stay/